Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Gugong. Gugong is a 2 to 5 player game that is tough to explain. I mean, the gamingness of this game is different to pretty much every other game that I've come across. Now that's a really good thing. Don't misunderstand me. It is a good thing, but it also means it's a little bit tricky to kind of understand and get your head around and explain and describe to other people. The essence of this game is the idea of giving something to an area or to the person who controls the area in order to be able to use the area. So you have cards in your hand, there are cards on the board. Now there's about 7 different areas, and this is where the game gets a little bit sticky. It's trying to remember what each of those 7 different areas does and being able to use each of those 7 different areas. In the last game that I played, I found that no one was touching one of the areas, right, which I was going to fairly heavily, simply because I don't think they remembered it was there, number one, or number two, they didn't quite know how to use it, or didn't quite remember how to use it. So there's enough stuff going on that you're kind of like, I think this is what's happening. I mean, once you get used to the game and you know what you're doing, it's probably not so much of that going on. But in the first play especially, there's just a lot of stuff happening at the board that could happen. The essence of the game is I'm looking at cards that have a number on them. I can play, say, a number 5 over the top of a number 4 or into the space where a number 4 currently sits. And what that's representing is me giving a gift, which is a number 5 gift, and taking back a number 4 gift. So that number 4 then goes onto my board. I can then action in that corner. There may be something on the bottom of the card which allows me to do something else. If I was to want to present my number 5 to somewhere that was a number 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, I'm going to struggle. I'm not going to be able to do that. There are rules that you can do other stuff, or you do the transition but you don't actually get to gain anything from it. It's tough. It's tough because what ends up happening is that the levels of the board continually go up. There is one benefit of, if there's a number 9 on the table, you can trade that out with a number 1, and there's reasonings in the ruling for how that works, but it's basically that's how everything keeps rolling around. But you're going to get to the point where you have not enough high numbers to be able to actually go over and above any of the numbers at the table. And so you're going to have to do this other action, which is just swapping out a card and not actually doing anything at all. There is also a section in the middle of the board, which is the temple. This is kind of what you're aiming for at the game, is to try to get to see the owner, the chief person, whatever you want to call it. To get to see them, you've got to get to the top of that track. If you get to the end of the game and you are not at the top of that track, it doesn't matter how many points you would have got, or you could have got, or you have got, they are worth nothing. So it's impossible to win without fixing up the center track. That's an important one, and it's really important to understand. It's really important to make sure everyone at the table understands before you start playing. What I found, however, is that making the importance of that known, people go after that really early and really quickly, and so they'll push to the top partway through the game, and then they've forgotten about all this other stuff they could be doing. Finding that balance between going after that middle track and going all into the outsides of the board is a really important thing to watch out for. The game itself plays fine. You are only playing this game over 4 rounds, and within each of those 4 rounds, you've only got about 4 cards, I think it is, in your hand, so you're only going to be able to do 4 things. There are ways that you can gain more cards into your hand, so you'll be able to continue doing more things than everyone else. But for the most part, you're doing 4 things. You have little cubes which represent your minions that you're sending out to do stuff. They don't use the word minion, but I've forgotten what the word is, so let's keep moving. If you don't have any of those guys, it's tough. You're locked into having to only be able to do a couple of spots. It's really important to keep your eye on that. You've got more that can come in, more workers that can come in for you. But if you send them all out, it's really hard to be able to do much at the board. And so keeping a balance on all of the stuff that's going on is a really important thing. This is one of those games where there's a whole bunch of stuff laid out that you could do, but by you doing or trying to do a lot of it, you're actually going to not be able to do a whole bunch. but you're limited by the cards you've got in your hand. So you end up having to go to an area because that's the only spot that my cards will allow me to go to. And then hope that you're able to go to another area because someone's put down a different card that will enable you to then be able to go over the top of that. Those things are really important to understand and kind of get your head around and get a grasp on. Playing the game is really straightforward and it actually makes a lot of sense. Learning the game is hectic because there's about 7 different areas of the board and each of them works differently, and understanding what each of them does is really important before you start playing. So this one again falls into that space of games that probably take a little bit longer on the explanation than necessary for the actual gameplay. In terms of actually reading the rule book, they take a lot longer than the actual game looks like. So I've actually started looking at rule books and going, oh, that's only 3 pages, great, I'll pull that out and I'll play that now. There's other games which have they've come out, they've been put out on the table, I've started reading the book and I've just had to put it away because it's just doing my head in. And this is one of those games that I've taken a couple of goes to get my head around the rules before presenting it to anyone to actually play. So look, I do think it's a good game. It's just different enough and has enough going on for you to really get thinking on it. So look, go ahead and watch my Gamesplained and Gamesplanation to see what you think of the game and to get your head around the rules and kind of get an understanding of it. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.